What do you think? Yeah.
Morgan is my son. He's a very social young man, loves to meet people, has so many skills that he's learnt on his travels. He's fabulous. He's a fabulous young man. He really is.
He's really sporty, really into sport. He's a brother, he's a son, he's a friend. So he wouldn't be defined by autism, I don't think.
I have 4 children, Morgan the youngest. So we all decided that, okay, what is a person of 20 years of age? What are they doing in the community? A young man like himself. Normally at 20 years of age, they've gone to college. Finnian would have gone to college at 18 years of age. Finnian was out living in an apartment with other guys. So we felt, well, why wouldn't Morgan do the same? Why wouldn't he have a life that was meaningful and worth living, putting all of his interests into the community and working around that? He's living independent in Castlebar with staff that support him on a daily basis, and he lives there Monday to Friday and comes back to Achill Friday to Monday.
So, let's see. What are we going to do tonight, Morgs? Should we have a look?
We support him to live here in his house in Castlebar and to basically do lots of things that an average 22-year-old would do. He has work experiences that he goes to in the week, and he meets up with groups. He goes running with the Fit for Life group, and he goes to play golf.
This is his 3rd accommodation within Castlebar. His first one, he lived in it for 12 months. But 6 of those months he had company. He had another tenant, lived in it for 3 months and moved out. His landlord asked him to move out because he could afford his rent, but he couldn't afford the other guy's rent. So we were in the middle of construction here in this house, and we couldn't bring Morgan home. So the service providers provided him with emergency accommodation. So Morgan really knew that this place was not suitable. And every time I would go, he would be giving me the sign that he wanted to come home. And every time I go in, he'd be pacing the floors up and down and up and down. And his mood just told us that he was so unhappy in it.
15 minutes, yeah.
That's when we contacted the rental accommodation scheme, and they then supported us in looking for a house for Morgan. It was a case of, looking on the internet, looking in the newspaper, and actually we found this apartment in the end. It was on the notice board in the supermarkets. I think it was really important for Morgan to be as involved in the process as is possible.
We introduced it over a period of, say, 2 weeks before he actually moved. There was a lot of him visiting, choosing the bedroom that he wanted because of the 2 bedrooms, choosing where he wanted to put his belongings.
And he was in control of, we got Morgan to look round and take pictures, and what do you think of this, Morgan? This is the bedroom and this is the bathroom. I think maybe one of the things that Morgan likes about this house is Morgan he likes everything to be in his place and neat and tidy, and in this house it's not too sort of cluttered. And when everything was all in order then, it was a case of Morgan going with his mum over to Swinford and signing the papers.
Myself, as Morgan's mother, had signed on his behalf, but he was with me at that stage. And it was just a matter of them then going and interviewing the landlord and checking and making sure that the accommodation was up to their standards.
When I first made contact with Matt, the landlord, I explained to him what Morgan was like, and that he's a neat and tidy guy, and I felt that it was really important for Matt to then meet Morgan.
The first time I met Morgan, it was quite different because he is unable to talk, but he was able to move, and he was able to get around. All we were told, he was very fastidious in his cleaning and very tidy.
Since we've got to know the landlord has been very, very helpful around Morgan, and Morgan around the landlord. When we meet, It's Morgan will greet him with a high five and a handshake. And not that we meet that often because the accommodation is running very smoothly, but if there was any kind of a problem or that, Matt would bring it to Morgan's and staff and family's attention.
Look at this, Morgs. Oh, wait, Morgan, will you set your place at the table and get yourself a drink? And we'll serve this. Bernie, who works at the rental accommodation scheme, they organised inspections of the house to make sure everything was kind of up to scratch and that it was all legit and that everything was, you know, to a standard that they felt was good enough.
They want to know that you have a tax clearance certification. The dwelling is of a good BER standard, and they want to know that if we have a gas central heating in there, so you have to have certification for the boiler. You have to have carbon monoxide testers to make sure that the place is a safe dwelling, which we already had in place, so it wasn't so bad.
Another thing as well with the rental accommodation scheme, the rent goes directly from the person's disability living allowance straight to the landlord, so they don't have to be worrying there about whether the rent's going to be paid or not, so that's a positive for the landlord, and that's sorted out by the rental accommodation scheme.
It's slightly under the market price, but I think it's worth it for what alleviates other issues in regards to private tenants.
I suppose as a mother, I miss him and I would worry about him as well. I had, I think, maybe about 3 months where I stayed in it every night, doing the nights with him in the evening time. And the fact that we were close to the town, it meant that we could go for a walk, we could go to the cinema, we could go bowling, we could do all those things that we couldn't do in Achill.
Yeah, he seems to be very happy and content in the house that he's living in, or the apartment that he's living in now, in comparison to the place that he was living in previously. He seems to be very contented. Do you want to give me? Thank you. Oh, that's nice.
Where he was 2 years ago to where he is now, he's just a happier person, happier, more relaxed, and he really feels at home here. This is his space, you know, and of course he loves being at home and he loves being with his mum, but this is his room, his space and his own flat.
Are we going to do? How about?
We do
How about?
have visions of Morgan being able to work hold down a job, and that's his next big step, and it will be a decision that his family will be very involved in, and especially his mother. He's got a lot of skills and we feel that he can make a job out of these skills, providing that he gets the proper supports to do that. You know, looking back on Morgan's life and when he was younger, his behaviour was chaotic, but if you take him and you treat him the exact same as the rest of our children, which we decided at a very young age, and we feel that there's no end to his learning, you know, and that way it really stands for him. We've seen the hills and the mountains that he's climbed. However, he has taught us so much.